And away we go. Pretty sure I got the microphone settings right this time. Welcome. Welcome, Grimdark enjoyers, to another Hobby Hang stream. We're painting bases. It's very riveting stuff. Look, it's not the most exciting, but it's important. It's very important. Just hydrating the wet palette. For the water bases, we're just going to do some simple blends with Stegadon Scale and Temple Guard Blue. This may well be the most laid-back hobby stream. I think these hawks turned out great. Well, technically they're darting osprey from Artel, but I think they came together quite nicely. I particularly like this this barrel banner made from a bit of a scrap aluminum can. Throw a decal on there, I think it looks great. Simple but effective. I'm going to start with Stegadon Scale. I'll try and wet blend this. Wet blending makes sense for painting water, right? It sounds suitable. Oh, there's something I can do with the lighting. Maybe that's better. Well, it's better for me. Looks about the same for you guys. Then here's some Temple Guard Blue. Well, it's actually mixed in with the Stegadon Scale already. Add a bit of water for good measure. Then here's a bit more of a closer to pure Temple Guard Blue. Alright, blend is looking decent. It's looking pretty smooth. And this side could use a bit of attention. This is essentially straight Temple Guard Blue from the pot. It's about as hard as we want to go on the Temple Guard Blue end of the blend. So we'll try and smudge this into what we already got going on. Just keep working it in. Okay, that one's about done as far as our first pass goes. Team Unicorn Gaming, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Team Unicorn Gaming says, that's how we know you're a real painter. We can hear you licking the paintbrush. Guilty. Guilty. You know, all these talks about microplastics. I suspect I've absorbed a fair amount of microplastics just from licking my paintbrush. It's just the quickest way to kind of get that happy medium of hydration for your paintbrush. Like, how saturated do you want it to be with water? Well, you got put in your mouth and it basically comes out perfect. Maybe I should invest in one of those chewing tobacco buckets. You know, I opted for the brighter Swooping Hawks color scheme because I thought it would clash less with my basing scheme than the more modern, darker color scheme, as you can see on the newer Swooping Hawk kit. But I feel like it's gonna get lost in the base either way. Because of the blend. Team Unicorn Gaming says it is what it is. True. True. What's going on your side of the hobby desk, Team Unicorn Gaming? Working on something more exciting than bases? Jeez. I think this is going to take a second pass just to bump up the coverage of the Temple Guard Blue. Because I've watered it down, it's a little thin. It needs to be stronger. I guess it's also a layer paint compared to a base paint from Citadel, so one is stronger than the other in this case. Actually, I also have to be mindful to brighten up the areas around the rocks, which will help the rocks look a bit more meshed into the water, so they don't look like they're floating, they look like they're rooted into the sea floor. Almost forgot about that, actually. Okay, we'll carry on for now. Yeah, we're gonna do a few passes of painting bases. It's gonna be riveting. Get excited. Just painting water. Now, one thing I want to be wary about when using old brushes, so roughly with this sort of application, you want to be wary about loose brush fibers that fall off your brush and get stuck to your model. It's quite a piss off to find those after the fact, especially after you've washed the model or something, and then now it's like, oh god, I have to gone through all these processes to get the effect just I wanted, and there's a brush hair trapped underneath all of the base layer and wash. Team Unicorn Gaming says you prefer wet blending the basis for water effect over something like water effect. Yes, I kind of like I guess, more picturesque. I don't want to say cartoony. It sounds too negative. But I kind of like the more painterly effect of a gradient across the surface with the water effects over top, which is what I've usually done. I have like some shrine markers here kicking around, which you can see like the end result for. So it's like a little bit of both, right? It's we do some water effect, but we also paint a blend underneath, which I think adds quite a bit to the effect, because all those water effects are transparent. Except for the foam, the white foam stuff that goes over top. That is the final step of the process. I just sort of like the look. What can I say? I like a good blend. Team Unicorn Gaming says, those look great for sure. Well, thank you. That is much appreciated. I am quite happy with the look, too. Then we have our custom shrine marker here. So which side do I want? Let's put the dark side towards the more open side of the base this time. Okay, I think we're ready to circle back. Circle back for round 2. Okay, we'll pump up the temple guard towards the front, but we'll take a medium, sort of in-between color, and just pepper it around these rocks to create the illusion that they are thinner. The water is not going down too far towards the base of the rock, because the rock is continuing below the water's surface. Alright, I think this one's looking decent. We'll see if we need 3 passes. Probably just 2. Probably just the 2 will do. You know, I've been reviewing the state of Shadow Spectre's post-codex because I had a video in mind even before the new codex was announced for Shadow Spectres, because I had a gripe with their rules. But since the Eldar Codex has come out and Shadow Spectres are still sort of in a rules purgatory, I've started working on a script for a critique video of sorts, but also just a how to take care of the unit and its rules going forward from that perspective. I don't exactly have a title for the video as yet. It's still in the scripting stages, but there's certainly a lot wrong and ill fit about the Shadow Spectre's datasheet. This one is a little trickier since the rocks are so close to the back of the base. Which does not leave much room for outlining them with a brighter tone. I should probably be mindful that perfection isn't necessary. I think probably a more organic blend with some errors would probably be perfectly adequate once all our water effects go on top. But sometimes you get lost in the blend, you know? Alright, so we have our shrine marker, which doesn't need too much attention, I don't think. I think the backside is looking fine, but the front might be a bit overblown. Just gotta dial back that temple guard a little bit. Team Unicorn says, time for dinner. Thanks for the painting. Have a great day. Well, right back at you. Enjoy your dinner, Team Unicorn Gaming. I appreciate the company. That's a real harsh blend there. I'm gonna smooth that out. We want it to be as smooth as eggs. It's better. That is better. Okay, so I think the next round in this batching process is probably going to be putting on some still water, which shouldn't be too messy. Gonna toss on some of this. We'll try and go in order to make sure our models are dry before the still water layer goes on. However, I don't think we'll be able to continue once this goes on. The drying time is considerably longer than just a layer of paint. Okay, that should be plenty enough to move around. Kind of move it where we want it. Basically just looking for full coverage. We want a nice refracting but translucent layer to really kind of help enhance the illusion of depth. Now is it... I can't tilt it for you guys, I just have to hold it up for myself. So I want to make sure it's not pooling awkwardly anywhere or catching awkwardly on the rocks. And if I tilt it so it's parallel for you guys to see, it'll just, you know, gravity will do its thing and we'll have a mess. So off to the side he goes. The air bubbles can be annoying with regards to this product. There are some methods you could use to mitigate them. I kind of demonstrate that in the water basing process video on the channel. But if they are around the rocks, I think it enhances the foam effect, to be honest. So that's not too bad. It's much more of a problem on larger bases like vehicles or something. Or those bikes with their giant 60mm bases. Okay, might have put a bit too much water effects on this one. We'll see. We do have lots of space, lots of space, but we do need to get some of this effect on the back side of the base. Omegon's twin, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. He caught me in the middle of some water effects here. Omegon's twin says, hello there after an extended period of time. Indeed, it has been a while. Indeed, yes. How are things on your end? Hobbying on anything exciting? Hopefully something more exciting than water bases. Okay, this one looks like it's got a good amount of coverage. I think this will do. Okay, so that's the five hawks. Just the shrine marker next, which probably doesn't need too much because it's a small base. Maybe just like a dash more. Definitely better to build up these kind of things slowly than have too much. Alrighty. Important to make sure your brush is thoroughly cleaned. Omegon's twin says, just started learning Infinity because I know that GW is going to be nerfing my Death Watch, so I don't want to buy new models yet. Yeah, probably smart. Probably smart. Look, nerfs are inevitable. Unfortunately, Games Workshop likes to adjust the rules for the top tables, but your everyday Joes suffer the brunt of it. And sometimes not like even unrelated people suffer the brunt of it. Just because you happen to use the same unit, but your detachment isn't what's causing the problem. Okay, in the interim, we still have some time to kill here, so we'll probably continue with our Baharoth. But because of my buttery fingers, I broke his sword. Big sad. Big sad indeed. So we'll have to do some pinning at some point. Though I don't know if I want to do some... I don't know if I want to do such high-intensity surgery on stream. It's a bit too much pressure. Omegon's twin says, I started working on my color scheme for my JSA. I am assuming that is a faction of Infinity. And then I realized afterwards it looked like the asexuality flag. Nice. Well, how are you supposed to know all the different flags, right? Look, it's an accident. It's an accident. Alright, let's pull up Baharoth's color reference on the old Games Workshop website. Alright, so I think the wings are, yeah, edge highlighting aside, I think the wings are fine. Well, we do need to actually bump up the Sotek green on the edges of these, of that inner layer. So we'll start there. We will start there with some Sotek green. I don't know what it is about GW or Citadel, but they have a pretty bad habit of calling blues green. Like, look at this. Are either of these green? Like, really? Come on now. This is crazy. These should both be called blue. Because I don't know, why would you do that? Okay, so we'll try and neatly just put some brighter Sotek green towards the edges of these, I don't know what to call them, feather sections. Our blue inner feathers. I could bump this up a little bit, maybe with, I was going to say Temple Guard again, but I'm wondering if an actual green would move us closer to the reference material. Maybe like a Toxic Mist? Look, I'll try it. I'll try it and see how it looks. So looking at the reference image, Baharoth's wings are a little bit more towards green than mine currently are. I think we can try some Saborite, mixing in some Saborite. Omegon's twin says, same thing almost happened with my Pink Templar idea when you realized I was just making a trans flag. Nothing against them, but the fact I can't escape my colorful friends seems to be a theme. I hear you. Yeah, you want your, unless you're aiming for a reference, it's never fun when, or it's never ideal for an original concept to accidentally reference something else. It kind of saps the enthusiasm. Well, it would for me anyways. Okay, I'm going to water down this mix a little bit, and we'll just do some experimental brush strokes here and see how we're sitting. Definitely baby stepping the the amount of samurai green we're playing with. So what happens if we add more? I think we might be getting further away from what I want. I don't know. Instructions unclear. I'm just going to continue. I mean, Sabrite is certainly a brighter value than Sotex, so it should... It should serve as the right value. I'm just not sure about the saturation, the hue. Omegon's twin says, on planet Earth, how on planet Earth was that first paint supposed to be a green? The second has like a hint to it, but that other one is ultramarine levels of blue. Yeah, yeah, Stegodon scale is like... it feels a bit disingenuous to call this green. I hear you. Omegon's twin says, what the 40k? Any playtesting with the new Eldar stuff? How'd it go? Yes, I have been dabbling with the new Eldar stuff. I like it more than Strands of Fate. I was right all along with my critique of the detachment rule, which will never cease to be satisfying to me. But it's certainly just more mechanically rich, right? Fate dice, and I think Miracle dice as well, because it's essentially the same, they feel not only bad on the receiving end from your opponent, because it's such a luxury, but I just think also when you're playing, you're just going through your attack sequence or making crucial rolls, and then you just do an assessment whether or not you have anything you can swap to guarantee it. Which I think... it's just not especially satisfying. Battle Focus is movement based, so it's still strong. You're trading strong for strong, right? Dice swapping, strong. Movement based rules, also strong. So it's just more utility rather than sheer output. And many of the units just became stronger. I guess in compensation for the shift over from Strands of Fate. Though not all units, like Wraithguard. Wraithguard were egregious offenders of Fate dice in the early index period of 10th edition, just abusing their devastating wounds weapons with Fate dice. But they didn't really get any stronger, but they've maintained all their nerfs. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'd almost want Wraithguard to be a bit more potent, because that datasheet was, in my opinion, designed for the Fate dice to use them. But I don't know, you have to see how it feels, and maybe it'll just come down to points, right? Maybe it's better if you have more of them rather than less, and they're cheaper but not as good. Especially if you're going all Wraiths, you don't want too few units either. Omegon's twin says surprised they sent an entire Phoenix Lord to Legends though. Striking Scorpions got a model update not too long ago, yet their commander has been banished. Yeah, it's a very, very odd choice. I'm not pleased by it, and technically, I don't think Karandras is in Legends. Technically, I think he's in a purgatory of datasheets until he gets officially put there. Which is annoying, because I fully intend to live the dream and have all the Phoenix Lords assembled now that they brought out Lycus. Like, what's... Like, that's the payoff, right? So, look, there's a 10th edition datasheet anyways. For thematic or narrative play purposes, like, Jesus, like, it's sure, Karandras isn't technically Legends, but he has a 10th edition datasheet. Who cares? Like, Shadow Specters are much worse off, in my opinion. Fuck, I screwed up. Yeah, Shadow Specters are in a much more precarious position because even though you can make the same argument for them, they just have less integration with the designed rules as they are. Unfortunately. You know, like no Aspect Shrine tokens, no battle focus. They don't even have the Aspect Warrior keyword. Now, the Karandras datasheet's only problem is that he doesn't have the battle focus keyword. But I mean, he has Strands of Fate. So I'm leaning towards rules as intended. Unfortunately, look, I'd love to be a guy who is all about rules as written. The problem is you can't count on GW's rules writing to be a rules as written person. That's kind of where I'm sitting on that issue. Okay, I think I'm okay with this Sabarite Green. I think it's closer. So we'll just do the insides now, the inner wings, and that should be good. We're basically just glazing it on here. There was something else about Shadow Specters. I've just been looking at them recently, just because I have a strong desire to make a video on them. I think our tabard wants to be the same color as customize those wings. Or whatever this is called, a butt robe. The butt cloth. You can mix in some black, maybe? No, let's use Incubi Darkness and just to get a darker color that kind of blends into the armor a little bit more. I think that's smart. Incubi Darkness is the base color of the armor, and so I think that's going to help enmesh everything. Omegon's twin says, surprised by the Eldar range refresh, but wondering what they'll do about Grey Knights having no updated models. Do they have no updated models? Or they definitely do. Like, if GW redoes a few Grey Knight kits, like 3, like a Terminator kit that builds all variants of Terminators, sized up like the new Leviathan Terminators. They could even use the same base with an upgrade sprue, like the Deathwing Knights did, right? People will love that. They'll eat that up. And then if they do another kit for all of the different variants of the baseline Astarte upscaled, I think people will also like that as well. Just to have, like, big, imposing Primaris scale Grey Knights that aren't just Primaris models. They have that firstborn aesthetic. And I think that would sell. I think people would start armies for that. Omegon's twin says, wonder if World Eaters will get the same treatment as Emperor's Children. Well, I think already they have more units. I think. Right? You have your incursors. I can't remember what they're called. They're not called incursors. Whatever their new battle line main rank and file warriors, they have that kit that builds 2 variants, shooting and melee. We can say that's equivalent to the Berserkers, right? Your battle line Astartes. Then you have your Noise Marines. You have your duelist big boys in squads of 3, equivalent to 8 bound. You have your Blastmaster character. You have a custom Lord of Excess. Having a custom Lord on foot is already ahead of World Eater's 9th edition range. Or even, like, I think that's the current range anyways. And then you have Lucius, who counts as Karn, right? Then you have the 2 Primarchs cancel each other out. Feels like the line is already larger, and there might be, I would hope, other items as well. I think it behooves them to do a Sonic a Sonic Hellbrute. Well, actually, I hate that. I would love a Sonic Dreadnought. I just don't know if they have the balls for it, so to speak. GW, that is. I feel like they're so hesitant to overlap the terms for hair across the good Space Marines and the bad Space Marines. Okay, so after looking at this a bit more, I think the color choice was the right one. We can probably take Sotek and mix Toxic Mist in for our edge highlighting color as well. I think that'll bring us... I think that'll yield. I think that'll look really good. I'd probably glaze in some of this leftover Sambarite Sotek mix on his sash in the front here. Just to make it a bit more teal, a bit more green. Omegon's Twin says, all Grey Knight characters are firstborn. They only have firstborn dreads, their Terminators are all small, and have only had their kits changed to plastic. And their infantry squads are all the same. Yeah, I think if GW creates one kit that builds multiple unit options for all the Terminator units, and then all of the non-Terminator units, I don't think it's too taxing. Maybe you need 3 kits. I don't collect Grey Knights, so I'm not especially familiar with their range. But I don't think you need too many kits to refresh them, because I believe all of them have overlapping, or many of them share a base chassis, essentially, right? I wouldn't... I mean, personally, I would welcome not a redo of the Dread Knight, because I think they hate it or love it. The Dread Knight has people who like it, and I don't think it's worth redoing it, because I think the concept is just always going to have an inherent challenge of the baby carrier aesthetic, no matter how detailed and jazzed up it is. That is what it is. But I think if you're going to have a refresh, I don't think the move is to redo the Dread Knight. I think the move is to just create a Psychic Dreadnought and make that the big centerpiece, the way the Redemptor is for normal Space Marine armies, right? You just have a Psychic, like a proper Psychic Dreadnought. I think that's super cool. You can give it a sword if you want to, or a stave, or whatever. Let's get some teal on the underside, just a little bit. Just kind of glaze. Some Sabarite under there. Okay, that's better. Omegon's Twin says, it just depends on how you paint them, and some of them are still in metal. The Chaplain isn't even in production anymore. That's all the range is. Hate it. Give it ahead and don't let this guy sit in front of the vehicle. Omegon's twin says, do not like the Dread Knight, despise it. Yeah, I think most people dislike it. I think some people like it just because it's... Well, firstly, I think there's a degree to which people just want to like what's theirs. But I think there is something to the idea that it is unique. It's just such a poor execution. I think a Psychic Dreadnought is absolute win in comparison. And if only one Space Marine chapter is going to have Psychic Dreadnoughts, it should be the Grey Knights. Sorry, Blood Angels fans. Not that I'm against them having it, it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. Okay, so to build up the armor a little bit more, we're going to use Sons of Horus Green and Incubi Darkness, I think. We're gonna build up those armor tones a little bit more. Oh, and to be honest, it's basically edge highlighting ready, but I guess it's mostly ready to go actually. Mostly ready to go. Let's just take some Sons of Horus then and see how it's looking. A little bit of edge highlighting. I could probably use Toxic Mist from Army Painter as the highlight color for the armor as well. Which will help give all the different materials on our not Beheroth a kind of a cohesion, a kind of unity. Okay, I want to highlight this groove here. I mean, I'm doing highlights in Sons of Horus as I say that, but I think you can do some additional second pass highlights. I wouldn't just go over everything, but just accentuate the corners or especially prominent ridges. I think that would benefit from a bit of Toxic Mist. Perhaps mixed with Sons of Horus, so it's not too loud. Not really sure what to do with this grenade pack on his thigh. When I look at the reference on the GW web store, and I look at Beheroth, he has a grenade pack of sorts as well on his back. And I guess this is what that's supposed to sort of count as. But it's... the structure of these two grenade packs are just so different. So I'm not exactly sure how to translate it or what to do about this one on his hip. I think it sort of becomes a dealer's choice situation because of that, and because it's totally open with regards to how to translate it. I'm a little paralyzed on how to go about it. What would look best for the scheme? What would complement the look? So Barroth himself is looking... we're getting close to ready. We have to do the armor. Finish it off here with some edge highlighting, then do some corners with Toxic Mist, and then after that, some minor highlights on the wings, and I think... oh wait, his sword. Alright, his sword. It's a challenge. We'll have to do some surgery first. Okay, so Barroth is not exactly... the end is not in sight, so to speak. Getting a little ahead of myself. Francois, welcome. Francois says Wraith Bone Grenades. Is that what these should be? These weird... I don't know what these are. They don't look like refills for his gun, I don't think. Are they? No. Could be anything. Literally could be anything. I don't think Artel has a paint example of this guy either. I mean, I guess I could check to be sure. I feel only their more recent Phoenix Lords have painted examples. I'll have to do a quick Google foo. A Darting Osprey Prime. If you Google Darting Osprey Prime. Well, it could just be my account. I just see a whole bunch of my shit, which is really funny. Okay, where's the Artel store? Oh, I found the unit. Okay, here he is. Nope, no painted example. I want to lighten these nodules a little bit. Oh, he's got a tube. A tube running behind his helmet, which probably should be picked out. Probably should be picked out in black. Actually, the models I based earlier have the helmets as well, and they will also need the backs of their helmets also blacked out. But their still water might still be drying, so I'll have to keep that in mind for later. Oh no, I've ruined my shoulder pad, of course. It was inevitable. This is my cross to bear. I must suffer for not following my creed of painting inside to outside. Look, the bill always comes due. Look at that. My beautiful shoulders. Yeah, Infinity is one of those game systems that I would easily dive into if I had a play group for it. Much like Marvel Crisis Protocol. Those tighter team-based games. Very fun. I don't know if the model is asymmetrical or if it's just my poor painting. We're gonna have to rectify it either way. That's better. Closer. It's closer. Not perfect, but probably adequate. Sir Alvin, welcome to the stream. Welcome. Sir Alvin says it's coming along very nicely. The gold and yellows really help it pop. If you are referring to this not Baharoth right here, I appreciate that. Looking for input on what to do with this hip pack on his hip here, on his thigh. Maybe they should just be metal color? Might clash though. You gotta do something with it. Gonna have to do something. Francois says, that's why I sold all my Infinity. Had the shit about 10 years and never got to play a single game, so I sold it off. What a shame. But it is what it is, right? It's like, you can only play what your gaming group can support. Most war games aren't that enjoyable if you play by yourself. Even something like Kill Team that has rules for it, it's just not going to be as fun. Okay, so... there's something we should do here before our Saborite Sotek mix dries completely. Let's just do the inners of these wings. Just to bring them back into that, well, push it towards that teal color a bit more. Sir Alvin says it's meant to be grenades, right? I always wanted to try Infinity, but one game after another puts it further away to try. I bet a lot of people feel that way about Infinity. Francois says you shab T-bone in sepia wash. Okay, you know what? That might be a way to go. Like a warmer color. Overall cool skin. I like that. Maybe we'll go with a bone color. Francois says, I really hate Infinity doesn't have a purchasable rulebook. I think that's why Infinity never took off. Free rules? No, you need to print that shit off and put it in a binder. That is... I guess it depends. It's certainly a barrier for some. For others, that might be more accessible. I would hope they would have an app in the modern times. I think that'd be the way to go to make your rules maximally accessible. Certainly makes it easiest for quick referencing. Omegon's twin says they got an Essentials box with a new edition that explains it, actually. Sir Alvin says, I use a printing service, is how I got my Mordheim book binded and laminated. Oh, based. Worth it for Mordheim. Francois says an app would be cool, but a PDF is a pain in the ass to reference from a phone. Free PDF of rules? That's cool. But sell me a book too. Yeah, I think that's... I agree with you, Francois. I agree with that. You'd want to offer both. You want an app for quick rules references, like a searchable glossary for rules questions in the middle of a game. Useful for universal rules or key terms, that sort of thing. But you don't simply want a PDF on your phone, a PDF of the rulebook on your phone. It needs to be formatted for mobile screens, effectively. I think you could. It would just be work. I think it would take a bit of work to format a rulebook for mobile screens so it doesn't feel awkward. But I don't see why you couldn't. Like you like websites often. Like you can program a website it's pretty standard for a website to be set up so that it displays information differently depending on the device type, or like mobile screens versus desktop screens. So if you had a living rule set on your infinity.com or, genericwargame.com, I think it'd be pretty easy to make it so that it's not a pain in the ass to read on a mobile screen versus a, you know, a desktop. Okay, now can we line these edges? Might be easier just to draw a line in that shape and then clean up after and make it thin. Just trying to not get the brighter area, the inside of the groove, filled. I want to keep it dark. Anyone else hearing a beeping? I don't think any alarms are going off on my end. Though I will be wrapping up in about 15 minutes or so. If you guys aren't aware, I have a video in mind that does demand some time. I don't know how popular it'll be, but it's sort of a fun topic that I want to tackle around shadow specters. A fun rules exploration / post-mortem. I guess you'd think of it that way. And so I would like to get that out for this week, if possible. Do we have other edges for our Sons of Horus color? I guess not. Well, let's try mixing in some Toxic Mist and see where we're at. Sir Helvin says, how will you base this bird? I'll base them like my other birds and Aspect Warriors on a water base. We're going to have pretty large waves kicking off. Not too large, but larger than usual. Maybe like up to about here. Just to emphasize his speed, right? The speed at which he flies. Some whooshing water. Kind of progressively getting larger as they go towards the back of his base. It's going to have to... I'm going to do it by feel. I don't think I'm going to practice beforehand. I think it'll look good. Initially, I had him on a... He has two basing options. One where he's jumping off of a dead Chaos Space Marine. And I doubled back afterwards. I was like, you know what? We're doing water bases. I'd much prefer like this wind gust and water effects rather than dead marine and then still water. Or just more calm water. And we want that. We want to enhance that feeling of movement this guy has. But before we do that, we're gonna have to paint his sword and fix it. Because I goofed the floof and broke it. Which is more prone to happen with resin miniatures than plastic, unfortunately. It is the nature of such materials. Sir Alvin says you could make it a little funny and add a flailing fish being splashed with the water effect. Like how birds swoop to catch them in the water. I could do that, Sir Alvin. However, I want my Phoenix Lords to be very cool. Right? And so I appreciate your suggestion, but I will not be doing that. Well, gonna have to correct that error. Not a big deal. I didn't really paint the black areas yet. They only have a base coat. So it's not terrible that I blemished it. Well, now that his sword is broken and out of the way, at least I can see his hand and paint the spots I missed. Silver linings, am I right? Oh my god, Twin says, best idea, give the fish sunglasses. Oh, you guys are having too much fun. Sir Alvin says, what's not cool about catching your prey, winky face? I read Prey as perv. What has the internet done to me? The Alpha Legion will never recover from this. Classic Alpha Legion shenanigans. Which way do we want to highlight this? Probably put the highlight on this side, so it's forward facing. I realized you guys couldn't see any of that. That's okay. That's okay. This isn't exactly a tutorial. We're just hanging out. I don't want to paint the hand too much because we're going to do some drilling. And there's probably going to be a certain amount of wear and tear. So probably best to leave it as is. Can clean up the forearm though. Okay, before we wrap up here, I want to do a little bit of a test. Sotek Green with Toxic Mist. Will it work as a highlighting color? My hopes are that it will. No, I guess it will. It seems like a good. It seems to be like the right hue and the right value you'd want. But the feathers in particular might be rather difficult to edge highlight, at least with any speed. Just because of the way they are. Yeah, I don't hate this color. Yeah, we are quite a ways away from having Baharroth completed. I did not factor in the precision required for this edge highlighting here. This will be more time sensitive than I would like. Might be better to use a larger brush. Let's try. Let's give it a whirl before we wrap up. See what we're dealing with here. Well, way too big. Seems my number 2 has lost its precision point. But boy, I tell you, when it was fresh, oh, amazing. So we'll have to tighten that up. So this is just straight Toxic Mist. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe. I'm sure this is riveting. Riveting content. Consider this the bonus portion of the stream. Okay, I quite like Toxic Mist as an edge highlighting color for the teal sections. I think it's hidden. You just have to imagine. You have to imagine like it's everywhere. Misfit, welcome to the stream. However, I was just about to ramp up. Just about to ramp up, unfortunately. As I mentioned earlier, there's a video I want to try and get on the channel. I want to publish on the channel later this week. And so it calls, it beckons to me. Misfit says, just got the last of my Tau minis primed, the Kroot hunting party. Oh, nice! I have a soft spot for Kroot. I think they're I think they're neat. Alrighty. I guess before we end the stream, we'll take a look at the guys we based earlier. The still water is it's dry enough to tilt, but not quite dry enough to touch. Well, it's not much to show, really. There's like... Oh, I guess I'll point this out before I go. I followed Francois's tip on making a barrel banner out of foil. I think it turned out pretty well. It got pretty well on this Exarch. But it'll look even better once the models are based. And they got all their many layers of water product. Okay, let us wrap up here. If you guys made it to the end of the stream, you guys are the real hobby heroes. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and shared in the hobby camaraderie and joined me in just grinding out some unexciting but important hobby processes. What's there to share? I will probably be streaming next Wednesday. That's the ideal day, but things didn't go as planned this week. And I just released a YouTube short of just a simple spin job of Karandras, so you can take a look at that. And I think it turned out rather cool. And with that, I'll catch you guys in